I want to tell you something is that I feel ashamed of the martial arts. It's like I don't really feel people are representing it the way that I believe it should be represented. And it's almost like I don't even want to take that label. It's almost like I want to take another label, a whole new label to disassociate myself from the martial arts community, because whatever that's portrayed out there is not being represented the way that I believe it should be represented. Maybe my standards are a little too high, or maybe my expectations are a little too high. I don't think so, but I see that there are very few martial artists in this world, and there's a lot of people that claim themselves to be martial artists that don't deserve that label. And because there's so much corruption, it's almost best to not even to drop the label and just use something completely new. People like Bruce Lee and Jet Li and Tony Jaa, for example, are a few of the people that I would acknowledge as real martial artists that would that have expressed it in a way of where it has satisfied my inner spirit to where I believe that they're representing it the way it should be represented. But mostly everybody else is a misrepresentation and a disgrace. And I see that I'd rather just be labeled. No label is the best, but if I am to be labeled, just something specific to me. So my name is very specific to me, and if I put a title to it, if I call myself Sifu Freddie Lee, there's not many others out there with that same exact name, so I could represent my own label to the best of my ability, in which to represent something of a higher um, expression. But even when you label yourself as a martial artist, and then you got thousands of other people who label themselves as martial artists as well, now if the majority of the people who label themselves as martial artists are bullies, now you become categorized as a bully as well. And I don't like that. So I'm gonna show you some pictures of a catalog to show you just how a person's facial expression could just generate emotions of anger or just making you want to fight. And you could be very at ease and at peace, but then you see somebody's facial expression look at you in this way. It doesn't put you at ease, doesn't put you at peace. It makes you want to struggle, makes you want to fight, and no words even has to be said. And I think that that's ugly. And I think a martial artist should be in meditation, or he should have like a peaceful expression, like how a monk would have, or if he is expressing expression of anger or whatnot, it's in an artistic way, not in an egoistic way, but an artistic way. I'll show you these pictures and what unsettles me. So look at this guy's face right there. Just looking at him right there just makes you want to upset, make you want to fight. And to me, that's not what I see martial arts should be. Look at this guy. To me, when I see these facial expressions, it's just full of ego, full of pride, full of people thinking they're so great above people. and then strutting around their black belts. Every single one of these guys right here, they have to have their black belt with a very egoistic facial expression. Just right here, they have to strut around their black belts with a very egoistic expression. Here another with a black belt. This guy. That looks just like a very, very violent people. Very violent. This guy looks more like a pro wrestler than a martial artist. And all these people right here, full of ego, full of pride, full of competition, full of wanting to improve themselves. I feel with these expressions, these facial expressions, makes me feel that they're very insecure inside, and they feel like they need to prove something. And martial arts comes from the East, comes from Asia. None of these people are Asian. I see that it's not about race. It's not just about race, but the way that you express yourself with your facial expression is very important. And the energy that you're emitting, this is very negative energy. Very negative. Full of ego and pride. This is not... there's no balance. And if that is what represents martial arts, I don't want to call myself a martial artist. Maybe I could take on a new label. Maybe call myself a kung fu artist, but not a martial artist. You know what I mean? I'm just really unsatisfied with the image that's being projected to the society and what's supposed to represent martial arts. I'm very unsatisfied. Jet Li, he's getting older. He's made a lot of movies, but it's not a strong enough statement. Even that new movie Karate Kid with Jaden Smith, there's a good message behind the movie, but it's not strong enough it's not strong enough to compete against the negative energy that's being emitted from this cage fighting and magazines like this that get distributed worldwide, and all the combat sport. There's just so much negativity that's overwhelming the martial arts that I see that it's almost like it's almost hopeless. You almost have to just step back and disassociate yourself from that label. And that's why people come up with new labels all the time, because they want to disassociate themselves from a certain reputation that has been built upon and maybe corrupted. If a label is allowed to stay pure and uncorrupted, then it's something that you could be proud about. But every label through time shows that it ends up becoming corrupted eventually. Like every label. A beautiful label like love gets corrupted and turned into lust. You know, I mean, but you know, when we have our names, that's kind of like an identifier to help us represent ourselves and what we wish to represent. Imagine if somebody had the same exact name as you, but then they're creating killings all over the world. And then the people think, when they hear that name, they think that you're the killer. But then you're not. But the killer still has the same name as you. Makes you want to end up changing your name. Imagine if your last name was Hitler and your first name was Adolf. I mean, it'd just be horrible to have somebody in the past do such horrible things to the people around them, and then you have the same name as him. And that's how I see martial arts, is like, there's so many people taking that label and destroying that label that don't deserve that label. And it's almost like, you know, you guys could have that label. Take MMA, take the martial arts label, call yourself martial artist, take the black belts. I don't ever want to be caught wearing any of that stuff. I want to create my own label. You know, my own expression. Freddie's Modern Kung Fu. Who else has this label? Nobody but but me and the people that I allow to have my label, to represent my label. Just like my name, Sifu Freddie Lee, that's my name. It's not Sifu John Carter or Sifu John or Andy Wilson. This is Sifu Freddie Lee, and I'm representing myself and representing the martial arts, or representing Kung Fu the way that I believe it should be represented. You know, and it's a big struggle, you know, to try to combat corruption. And it's all over the police field. For example, a lot of people have a lot of negative feelings towards police because there's a lot of corruption and misrepresentation. You know, they're supposed to represent like honesty and truth and justice and things like that, but then there's a lot of people that misrepresent that within that field, that destroys their reputation. And that's the same thing that goes on about all labels.